Hey guys, what's up? Today I have a highly requested video, and that is a Tegu care video. Now, before this video starts, this cage is too small for this dude. There's a new cage in the making. Actually, right now we're making stacking cages for both of my Tegus. But this video has gotten so many video requests, message requests. You guys have been asking me on Instagram, YouTube, private messaging me. And I was like, I'm gonna make this video out to you guys to help you guys out, because a lot of you guys want Tegus. And then I'll show you the new cage when it's finished in about a couple weeks or so. So just saying that before we start this video, because I really want you guys to get proper information from me so you guys have a great healthy Tegu. They have black and white ones, red ones, blue ones, they have purple ones now, albinos, all kinds of colors and whatnot. So this video is going to be for Argentine. There's Colombian Tegus, which are a little bit different, I believe. So this is for Argentine black and white Tegu, red Tegu, blue Tegu, stuff like that. So let's get right into it. Tegus get around, Argentine Tegus get around 4 to 5 feet. So, you know, you're definitely going to want to know where you're going to put it when it's adult. You know, already have that kind of stuff planned out, because these guys do grow really fast, and they can live up to 15 to 20 years. So a lot of people ask, where do you buy a Tegu? Where did you buy your Tegu? I bought mine from a reptile show. I do not remember the vendor's name. But I got her as a baby. This is a she, because by this point she would have grown jowls and she would have actual balls under her tail. So this is in fact a girl, and girls get a little bit smaller than males. So if you want a male, you know, it's kind of hard to tell as a baby. So, you know, you kind of don't know unless you get an older Tegu, which I would highly recommend you guys getting a baby Tegu, so you can really grow up with, or have it grow up with you, really get to know you. All kinds of stuff like that. For housing, I really would recommend you guys get a 40-gallon cage or build a custom enclosure. This cage here is custom enclosure. You are going to have to build a custom enclosure. There is no way around that. You cannot buy a tank that big unless you check Craigslist or local postings. And you can maybe find a pre-built cage somewhere there too. As far as substrate goes for these guys, I would recommend cocoa husk, pure cypress mulch, not a blend. You really got to be sure on that, because sometimes blends will come with like pine and cedar, which you do not want to use at all. Those are terrible for any reptile. So be sure. You can even use like cocoa bark, eucalyptus mulch. What is it? Reptibark. Some people say aspen, but really I don't think aspen holds humidity that well. That's just my opinion, personal opinion. But I use cypress mulch for mine. And I get it from my local hardware store, and it says pure cypress mulch on it. It has 100% all natural, no additives or anything, so be sure to get that. And if not, you can get the cypress mulch online. What you're going to want in a cage is a water dish, of course, some sort of hide. Obviously you can tell that hide's too big for him. He doesn't use hides anymore, he just goes under. But babies and juveniles, you are going to want a hide. Let me zoom out a little bit here so I can just kind of show you, and this we'll also go over lighting too. Like I said, we got the mulch covered. You know, you're gonna want a water dish, of course. Really be sure to make sure you use water. You know, always have water, fresh water in the water dish. A hide, some sort of like basking spot. I use a rock because it gets nice and hot. And then, you know, you can just put like any kind of accessories you want in here. And as you can see here, I have 2 lights. I do not usually use 2 lights, but for the purpose of this video and to light up this whole cage for you guys, I wanted to show you. The 2 lights that I have, this is a Reptisun right here, okay? And Reptisun combines UVA and UVB lighting. So these guys need UVB. It helps build their bones. You know, they need calcium and UVB to make sure they don't get metabolic bone disease, which is a terrible disease in reptiles. Their bones like literally can like flex, and it's not normal, and it's really bad, and they could die from it. So just be sure to get UVB. I recommend, like I said, a Reptisun or a Solar Glow, because that combines both of the lighting necessities that you need, because you need UVA lighting and UVB. And you're going to want a hot side of around 95 to 110 degrees, and then a cool side of around 75 degrees, 75 to 85 degrees. So keep a hot side and then keep a cool side for if they get really hot. Humidity is another key thing here. You're going to want humidity level to 75 to 95% or 90%. You know, these guys just need to stay high humidity, especially as babies. You know, keep the humidity up perfectly. So I would just recommend spraying the cage every morning. So if you have a large cage like this, you really can't spray it all the time. So what I do is I fill up like a pitcher of water, and I'll just like put it on top, and then I'll mix it all in. I know it says never to drench the substrate, but that's really what you got to do for larger cages, unless you get like a frickin' hose. and just spray it down like that, which you can do. People have done that before, so whatever works for you. And as far as bath goes, these guys do need baths at least twice a week to help their body regulate. And so warm water, basically lukewarm water is what it's called. That means water that's like you can feel it and it's warm, but it's not like you put your hand in and it's like scorching hot. Alright, now to food, guys. So Tegus are primarily meat eaters and they eat a ton of meat, but as babies they're more insectivores, so they eat insects and all kinds of stuff. So for hatchlings, feed them every single day. If you can feed them like crickets, mealworms, superworms, turkey, eggs, I recommend cooked eggs and raw turkey. Raw meat, never cook your meat at all, but eggs I would recommend cooking them. You know, cook like a couple hard-boiled eggs, or, you know, scramble them some eggs, whatever you want to do. I've had plenty of feeding videos of Tegus on my channel. If you want, go check those out. Those are pretty cool. But you can also feed them, you know, like fruits or vegetables, but they're not vegetable kind of things at all, but they'll sometimes eat fruits like blueberries, you know, grapes, strawberries, bananas. And you can also feed these guys fish or like shrimp. So babies will pretty much eat anything, but I would recommend giving them like crickets or something because they're so like hyperactive as babies, and you can just watch them chase around the crickets all day, so it's really cool. After the hatchling stage, you have yearling, and for like year-old Tegus, I would recommend feeding, you know, just, you know, mealworms, and you can start feeding pinky mice as well. I know a lot of you say, when can I start feeding pinky mice? I would honestly wait a year. And you need to look to make sure the pinky mice will first of all fit like across its face. So say like from its face, you took a pinky from like here to here. If a pinky can fit in that area, then you're perfect to go. I mean, this dude could destroy pinkies right now, but you know, he could eat like fuzzies right now. So just be sure, if you're going to do that, wait a little bit. Don't rush it on your little baby hatchling Tegu, because it won't be good. You know, you don't want him to choke on a pinky mouse. And once your Tegu gets to about like 3 years old, like a subadult, like 2 or 3 years old, which is usually what it takes, you can start feeding like fuzzies, hoppers, which are like mice, and then, you know, just ground turkey. And what I do for ground turkey is I take calcium powder with the ground turkey and I'll mix it together, and then I'll make little meatballs, squish them, and then I'll freeze them in the freezer, and then I'll put them in there. So the next day, like, I'll put one in the fridge overnight, and so the next morning I'll have an unthawed piece of turkey that I can give to my Tegu. So that's what I would do, and you can do that with like chicken hearts as well. Chicken hearts and gizzards, beef liver, shrimp, you know, fish, anything you want to do that with, you can do. So once these guys get to be like really old and like full grown, then you can start feeding them like big rats. I will say full grown rats, but I know I've read a lot of stories where Tegus like full grown, like smaller like rats than like a full grown rat, because it's easier to digest, you know, a smaller rat than a full grown rat. So that's just kind of like down the road. When you have a nice full grown Tegu, you can start feeding it bigger things. So I mean, the feeding basically stays the same. These guys will just eat anything, but just make sure to regulate food. You know, don't feed them every day when they're a yearling or so. I feed this guy every other day, sometimes every other 2 days, you know, or girl, because I really don't want her to get fat, because, you know, they kind of slow down a little bit with eating. Then that brings to hibernation. These guys can hibernate from 6 months out of the year to like 8, honestly. So, you know, you really, if you don't want it to hibernate, then what I'd recommend doing is keeping the temperatures up in the cage. So my Tegus always hibernate because my room gets colder than like any other room in this house, which is not particularly amazing, because that means my Tegus always hibernate. But I try to put like heated emitters in here and everything to keep them, you know, nice and warm, but they always go into hibernation. So they usually start going to sleep around September, and they'll wake up around like March or April, which is the usual time for my Tegus. But, you know, like I said, if you keep them in like your bedroom or something, like the warmest room of your house in the winter, then you won't have that problem, hopefully. But sometimes if you're going to breed Tegus, you need to hibernate them so the female can like regulate properly and stuff like that. But if you notice your Tegu start slowing down when it starts getting cold outside, he or she is going into hibernation. And what I would do is completely stop feeding him. And if you see that he's really not coming out at all, then he's in hibernation. And between that time, you don't feed him, you know, don't play with him. What I would recommend doing is just keeping a nice full dish of water in case they get thirsty during any time in their hibernation period. Sometimes that will happen. They'll come out, take a drink, and then they'll go back to sleep. When they wake up, they'll be hungry as all get out. Like this dude, this girl, when she wakes up, she's not hungry for like 3 days, and then her metabolism kicks up, and then she's like, she'll eat anything and everything. So a quick topic that I'm talking about real quick is taming your Tegu. So as a baby, that's what I would recommend getting it as, is a nice hatchling. They may be a little bit more aggressive as a baby, but don't give up, guys. Handle them almost every day, if not every day, especially. And I would not recommend fully hand feeding as a baby, and I recommend feeding out of the enclosure so the Tegu doesn't get used to eating inside the enclosure. I would take him out, let him eat like right out in front of his cage here, and then he'll go back into his cage, and then, you know, he'll go and lay down, or she'll lay and go down there, and then I'll take her out a little bit, let her go to the bathroom and stuff like that. So if you notice like the handling technique's not working, what I recommend doing is like taking an article of clothing that you have that you wore on your body that day. Just make sure there's no perfumes or any like scent on it at all. And when the lights turn off, do not do this with the lights on. Put your clothing, find out where they go to sleep. So say I noticed that she went to bed right there. I would put my t-shirt on top of her right there. And that way she can learn my smell. And so whenever you put your hand in the cage, she'll be like, oh, I'm not going to be as scared now because I know the smell. And that's something that I did with her when she was a baby, and she turned out to be puppy dog tame now. So that's what I did. And there's other taming videos out there, guys. That's just a really quick tip. If you really realize that your Tegu is not, you know, coming up to you, but when you first get your Tegu, let it settle in for a good like week, if not 2 weeks, and then start like hanging out around the cage, you know, watching them eat. As a baby, maybe they won't eat outside of the cage. If not, that's okay, but, you know, try to get them off eating out of their cage. That's just my opinion. And then you can start handling them, taking them out, giving them baths, all kind of stuff like that. So, you know, just try to create a bond with your Tegu. Hold it all the time. You know, be best buds with it, but during hibernation, let it sleep, and then you'll be good to go. So that pretty much sums up everything, guys. I really hope this did help. Yeah, guys, thanks for watching this video. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one.